Where to go on a road trip in the winter. A few weeks ago I decided to go on another road trip. It would be my first one in the winter, and finding a location turned out to be harder than I thought. California was in the middle of the rainy season. The East Coast was hit by a serious storm, and in most other states it was either too cold or just not fun. Then I remembered, there is a perfect place for gloomy winter weather, so I decided to go there. And since I'll be freezing and wet far away from civilization, I need to pack properly. And for the full experience I decided to blend in like a true local and brought all the essentials.
I'm still working on my interest, so hello and welcome to Impressionist. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and it's important to say this right away. This place is not about some deep historical narrative. It's not about politics, and it's not about usual sightseeing with checking places off the list. This place is about the vibe, a very specific one, and you all know that.
So, what's the vibe? First of all, rain, a lot of rain. Secondly, green. And a lot of green too. And also fog, moss, wooden architecture, unique bridges, old pickup trucks, and so on.
I really wanted to experience the real Northwest with its gloomy vibe, but the time I arrived, the weather had changed here, which doesn't happen often. So even though I won't be able to show you real so-called B&W, but at least we'll see it dry. That means no rain flooding the camera, better image quality, and some places will actually look better. The weather might still get worse and turn normal along the way. But for now, let's take a look.
My first day of the trip was mostly spent on the road, driving to my Airbnb on the coast of Washington state. And the closer I got, the more beautiful the views became, and I realized that the place I was heading to was going to be something special. On the way, I drove through Seabrook, a very small but charming town I had never heard of before, and it turned out to be surprisingly fancy. It had a lot of really nice shops and cool architecture, and after seeing the sunset there, I knew I'd come back one day and stay longer, but for now I had to keep driving to check in. And after the whole day of driving, I finally reached my cabin. I came here to spend time in nature, and this cabin was exactly what I was looking for. There was nothing around, the nearest town was about 20 minutes away, and I was completely alone with the forest. The only downside was the outdoor shower. At some point, it took a bit of effort to use it, but everything else was a solid 10 out of 10. The hosts created a very comfortable space where you can truly relax and disconnect from city life. And that's exactly what I did. Usually it's hard for me to disconnect from my devices, but there was no signal here, so I had no choice. I ended up having an amazing evening alone with myself. I finally read my book and even worked through a few problems I had been stuck on for a long time. And overall, this trip turned out to be a perfect reset. Next morning I woke up well rested and excited to visit a place I've been dreaming to visit for the past few years. You know, sometimes you prepare for a place for a long time, and it doesn't live up to your expectations. Here, it was the complete opposite. So instead of words, just look.
I felt this way before it passes. Can control the waves.
This region is one of the rainiest in the country. That's why everything is covered in green. Every rock is covered with moss, and huge pieces of moss hang from the trees. Sometimes you wonder how the branches still hold.
We die.
I just realized it might be the greenest place on earth I've ever seen. According to science, in order to stay healthy, we have to see the nature. But if you don't have much time, just come here. Even 1 hour would be enough.
The weather was almost abnormal, because the sun was out. And even so, during the whole hike I didn't meet a single person, which let me enjoy this place alone.
It feels like a different planet. I think the only place where I experienced the same thing was Utah, just a few places in Utah. But at this moment it might be the most unique place I've ever seen.
Now, after seeing this place on a sunny day, I really want to see it in its normal weather, in the rain. But even without rain, you can feel how mysterious it is and why this place inspired the movie Twilight. After the forest, I stopped by Forks, the town where this movie was filmed. Of course, the whole town is full of reminders that Twilight was shot here. Besides that, I saw a lot of monuments dedicated to lumberjacks and noticed a guy fly home and park his plane. Other than that, there wasn't much going on. At the end of the day, I was heading to my next Airbnb, but at some point, something went wrong.
So I was driving the whole day and I was following Google Maps to get to my Airbnb place. And then I stuck and I decided to check my Airbnb description, and the lady is saying, "Don't follow GPS." And then I see a phrase, "Bring your bedding, your water, and your light." And at this point, I think there is something wrong.
As I approached, I had the unsettling feeling that something was off. Abandoned cars and houses weren't very welcoming either. When I got to the place, there was no bed, sink, or really anything else, and most importantly, it was cold. The electricity could go out at any minute, since it was running off of a power bank the hosts left. At least there was a book on Stoicism, maybe that was meant to help visitors make it through the night. I decided not to take my chances and left to go to a hotel.
I woke up and we have great news. The weather is normal today. We will see the real Northwest.
When the weather turned gloomy, the whole place changed entirely. On my way, I stopped at the ocean, and that's not the ocean you dream of going to in the summer. I usually listen to music or podcasts on long road trips, but this trip in particular was my quietest one. The views around me were capturing my full attention, and I didn't want to break the silence. The last point turned out to be the most remote one, and that's not the only thing this place is the most of.
So we made it. We reached the corner of America. Right there is Canada. We are at the most northwestern point. And normally I would tell you how was my trip. I would tell you whether I recommend this place or not. But these views, they don't need my explanations. You see it yourself. And normally I would say, see you later, but my trip is not over. I have one more stop to do. And let's do it.